Bobby, what did you think of that Friday game? I didn't like it, but it seemed like you were into it 2 days in a row.
I liked having football 2 days in a row, but like you said, the presentation was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
It was so
The the,
garbage. It was like
the
they just
sound
decided to do that the night before.
the sound was so off. Like at times you could hear the "Go Pack Go" and the Eagles chant over the announcers, which was annoying as hell. And then the field. So, like I said, I love having football on Friday, but that field was unacceptable for an NFL game. People
Yeah.
were sliding all over the place, and you called it too. The Jordan Love injury. What, he's out 4 to 6 weeks now?
It could have been worse. Yeah, it
Could
could
have
have
been a
been worse
lot
because
worse.
his knee popped. I was like, oh, I feel like that's an MCL. I said it right away. I really thought it was torn though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting better, I think, at spotting the ACL and the ACL injuries because like there's a few rules you can sort of apply in your head where if he walks off the field, that doesn't actually necessarily mean anything if it's the ACL or the MCL because that's all about like moving left and right. I think like exploding like left and strafing whatever it is, but like obviously your knee's fucked. You can't get any explosiveness into it, but you can walk a lot of the time. And then
Right.
sometimes it's more of a pop than anything else. So I was really thinking, oh shit, his MCL went. And even as a Bears fan, I didn't want to see that. Like I was still riding the hype of like coming into the Bears season thinking we were going to be like half decent this year. And I didn't want to see, I wanted to play Jordan Love. I wanted to see that battle. You never want to see a guy get hurt like that, especially when he shouldn't have even been playing the fucking game in the first place. Like that's the part that's annoying to me, I think, is that he was out there at all on a Friday night in Brazil. And I know it wasn't necessarily the field that popped his knee. I know it was Jalen Carter, right? Was the guy who was like down by his
Mhm.
legs, and he like shouldn't have grabbed him like that. And actually, I think he was still technically in the pocket, so it was like I think supposed to be a roughing the passer if you tackle him below the knee for that reason.
Yeah.
But the game was like
Right.
a nothing burger by that point. That was the worst part of it, is that it was a Hail Mary maybe, and then everyone was going to the showers. So, I'm glad it's not as bad as it could be. He'll be back. The Packers season isn't entirely written off, but yeah, I mean, to your point, Bobby, Jesus Christ, they were sliding all over the place. It was like watching the Mighty Ducks, not two teams from the NFL. I guess there was some spike replacements at halftime, but it didn't seem to help much.
Never really help. Yeah.
Packers are definitely an honorable mention too. Um,
I think they look good up
it,
until
yeah,
they got beat, right? I mean, they were playing against a team that on paper should be better than them. Would you agree?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, it's like I know a lot of people were waiting for like an Eagles implosion or something was going to be weird because Kelsey's not there and everybody was bagging on Sirianni so hard at the end of the last season. And, he doesn't really, I'm not really sure what he does there. I'm not really sure Nick Sirianni's job is in Philadelphia, but like maybe he can't do any harm. And I thought both teams looked good for what they could do, but I'm not sure I saw like a ton of
Mhm.
like I don't know everything about either team's offense or defense, Jordan Loveless or not, right? Ray? I mean, it's
No.
without seeing a little bit more. I mean, Saquon, I think, was the thing we could probably say was probably going to go really well. Like it was,
Well, I
it's
mean,
always going to go really well.
their
It looked like it did.
line, even with losing Kelsey,
Still
um,
elite.
is still really, yeah, still really good. So, and once again, he's an elite running back. So
Yeah.
it's not like you weren't getting a guy that was dominant in 2018 and then fell off the wagon. Like he is someone that is doing damage still. So yeah, everyone realized the mistake that it was that New York had let him go, so seemingly. But yeah, I mean, listen, what is one man's trash was another man's treasure, and that's what's happening there at Philly. Also so far in week one, and we'll see how it goes. But to your point about people waiting on the Philly demise, now with all of us in our mid-30s, Philly's been good a majority of our lives. Yeah, they've only been in 2 Super Bowls in our time, but that's 2 more than most. They've been good. So whether it's McNabb, I think we were kids, it was I think Ty Detmer was the quarterback then, obviously before us, Ronald Cunningham. Like they've always had decent players in there. But the buzzsaw that was the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s, like they weren't better than them, but they were always around the way. They just couldn't get over the hump, until
Yeah, I mean,
2017.
I wouldn't classify them as like not a good franchise. I think they've always been sort of thereabouts historically.
Yeah.
As far as the current Eagles go, let's save it until we get to power rankings because spoiler alert, they're in there. Bobby, what did you think of the Pack show with Jordan Love in there? I mean, I thought he was playing like shit up until the injury. To be totally honest with you, I thought there was a lot of problems in there. It wasn't meeting the hype expectations that I think a lot of people were metering out for Jordan Love over the course of the offseason. I don't think that would continue. I do think he's a good QB, but there was moments of like, what is he doing?
Right.
Well, yeah, that's why they're not on this list. Is even before the injury, I feel like they would have been an honorable mention just because to me those Love expectations are overblown. I'm not sure. I know he played really well at the end of last season, but I just don't know if he's as good as everyone thinks he is. So that's why I'm just not feeling the Packers this year. Plus the injury now, so that knocks him down a peg even more. So
A little too sexy, maybe, of a pick in the offseason. But again, I mean, we haven't seen enough, I don't think, of the Packers. I mean, I hope you're right, obviously, for selfish reasons. But Ray, what did you think of their performance prior to the injury?
They seem somewhat confident. I mean, obviously, when you come off the mini run that they had, like there should be some type of confidence to say, like, hey, like we should be able to build off that. And once again, they hung in right there with a team who many believe to be a contender, if not the contender, in the NFC. So they should be proud of that performance. But at the same time, you got to finish, and that's something that we talked about on Monday quite a lot. It's about finishing the deal, and they were unable to for this one. But it's again they're gonna have to tread waters though, because having Malik Willis in there once again, who I think he was the third round pick a few years back, like he was someone that people thought could be maybe a borderline starter, decent backup.
Yeah,
So now he's gonna get shot.
There was
So-
like a 1 week storyline where Malik Willis was like a starter, maybe a first round pick in the NFL
Yeah.
draft. I remember that
Yeah, I
specifically.
mean,
So you never
And
know.
obviously he goes to Tennessee.
Fucking bad in the 3 snaps that he played. I just like to point out.
Yeah,
it was
he
one of
really
the worst
wasn't
3
great.
snap
He was really
series I've
bad.
ever seen,
Okay.
I think.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, listen, I think he's already reached what he's possibly going to be. Like he's just going to be another version of Tyrod Taylor. And once again, I hate to
Tyrod Taylor balled out this weekend.
great, but I'm like he's
Once he
not
went in late in a game after.
Yeah, late in the game, right?
scored.
You know what I'm saying? So let's see. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. But I'm pretty sure
Tyrod Taylor always
they'd be lucky to go 2-4 in these next few weeks. Like they'd be lucky.
agreed.
For the record, breaking news before we move on from the Packers: Matt LaFleur has not ruled out Jordan Love for week 2.
That's gamemanship. He's not gonna play. That's gamemanship.
That's extreme levels of gamesmanship.
It is. I mean,
out
it's
for
like
5 weeks, and
Wednesday,
he's doing this
Wednesday,
already on
it's
week
like-
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like this, come on. Just say, hey, we're happy that it wasn't a complete tear, because it is a tear regardless. It's just maybe not the level that
I thought it was a bruise.
Oh, but I mean, but this
A sprain. I thought it was
yeah,
a sprain.
I thought it was a sprain, not a bruise. It was a sprain. So the sprain is a tear, but it's just a matter of the grade. But he's not going to play Sunday. I mean, come on, like that's not, and he shouldn't play. Once again, you just signed him to a long-term deal. If he's out for a few weeks compared to the whole season, you take that all day. So it's about protecting the investment. Like you can't just put him out there just because you think that he's at 80%. Like you need him to be, you need him at 100 or close to 100. So there's no way he plays Sunday. No way.
Yeah, no, I doubt it.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's going to be some bad quarterback play, just for the
Right,
record.
yeah.
But
Already.
which I don't hate. As we move on to the other side, I guess, of the NFC North,